remember any old girls coming back and telling us their experience. This is something I don't remember. I remember we had lectures from stockbrokers in the city, and maybe a writer or two, and maybe a jewellery expert and other stuff like that. But anyway, I remember being in your position, being forced to be at a lecture, so I sympathise with you having to be here tonight. Anyhow, I hope it won't be that boring. My life hasn't been that boring, actually. I definitely did not do the normal thing and what I was supposedly meant to do. It was not a path that I was forced onto in any way. It was a path that I chose very, very naturally, and a path that flowed out of my experience. Let's come back to Westonbirt. Only when you come back here, perhaps one of you, two of you, will come back here in 20-something years' time, like myself, and tell of your experiences. Only then will you realise that this is a little piece of paradise in this very turbulent and rather difficult world that most people are living in. I can say this out of experience because I've lived mostly in the third world, where the majority of people are still struggling to make ends meet, let alone have a first-class private boarding school education. I mean, that's just to make it very blank. I mean, that's just how it is. And when you see that out of these 7 billion people that are on the planet, only a certain percentage of them even get an education, let alone a private education in their maybe third world country, let alone a private education in a first world country like England, and the sort of elite, and I can only use that word, elite environment that you are in, that I was in. It is like, it puts you into the 0.00 something% of this world's elite. And only later will you recognise that. You don't recognise it now. I know you don't. We didn't. And none of us did. And only when we look back on it and we come back here and we walk through this little paradise, little haven of shelter in this turbulent world, do we recognise that this is a huge opportunity. A huge opportunity to succeed very, very well in life and to launch you into a successful path. Success, what the hell is success? I mean, we get it rammed down our throats. You've got to do, you've got to become, you've got to be, you've got to succeed, from our parents, from our teachers, from all these voices outside. And where you are now and what you're thinking about doing, I mean, it's all rather confusing. I know that, I was there. It's very, very confusing. So many different ideas. And what is success? What constitutes success? Well, if I asked one or two of you what is success, let's say the answer may come back making money on the one hand, and on the other hand may come back happiness. So the path of making money often constitutes a lot of sacrifice, compromise, and not necessarily doing exactly what you want to do, but if you become, say, a lawyer or a stockbroker or go into a very fast and furious career, perhaps you can make a lot of money very fast. Then there's the path of happiness. That usually doesn't constitute money. The path of happiness usually makes it rather difficult for you to earn money, but nevertheless, you're happy. So how do you combine this rather difficult path of money and happiness together? And I think that has been the key, or that is the key to really finding your path in life. If you look at it, very, very essentially, the bottom line is, what do you really love doing? And what is your heart desire? I know that's a big question, but each one of you has a God-given talent, and each one of you has a flair for something that is individual and is something that you can develop and create and get somewhere with in life. But it's often very difficult to find what you're really interested in, and B, to actually have the courage to do that, to do what you're really interested in, because of all the pressure that's around you. You've got to succeed, you've got to become this, you should do that. All the shoulds have to actually be turned into coulds. Not you should do this, you could do this. And then it's often the harder path. But the harder path always leads to higher places. So, anyway, this is just a sort of warm-up to what I want to talk about my own experience and what happened for me, because I went way off the mark of should and right onto the path of could very, very soon after leaving Westonbirt. And I think that Westonbirt was a very great foundation for all sorts of possibilities. I mean, academically, when I was here, the standard was okay. It was sort of getting out of the worst times that the school has been in, and it was coming back out into a better standard. I believe the standard here is now better than when I was here. We'd reached a kind of low point. So academically, you didn't come to Westonbirt to really succeed in that sense. But it was an all-round school. It was a school where you got art and drama and sport and music and academic, but all at a certain level. I think now it's changed, like I said. And that was a foundation for one thing, but the other thing that really, I always tell people now, they ask me what was school like, what was a private boarding school like in England. And I said that was where I learnt how to survive in the system. Because this is a little system, this is a little microscopic system that will be extended into the greater world when you go out. I mean, the microcosm, macrocosm, you must have heard those expressions. Everything that happens here, I mean, the rules are petty, you have to do things on time, you have to conform to certain rules and regulations, and also you try to go beyond those rules and regulations because that's the normal thing to do. Nobody wants to be locked into four walls. Nobody wants to be confined to what they are told to do. You always want to reach beyond. That is to be human, is to reach beyond, to go beyond whatever barriers are put in front of you. I mean, I have to admit, I don't want to embarrass any of you, and you don't need to show your faces at all. I look straight into the space. But I did go down to the Italian gardens today, and I do see that gate number 1 is still the smoke hole of sorry, don't want to embarrass you. But, you know, this is just one way of going beyond barriers that are put around you, and you are not allowed to do that. Therefore, you do it. It's natural. You go beyond your barriers. You do that after school. You do that when you leave. Your limitations are now greater, more wide, in the sense that you're not told you can't do this and you can't do that, but you still need to go beyond those barriers. And that is when you need more courage than going down to the Italian gardens. You need to have a much greater ability to say, yes, I can do it. I can beat this system. I can go beyond the pettiness of the I should, and I should, and say I could, and do it, and reach out and go beyond. This all sounds very aesthetic, I know, and I'm probably not making much sense to you at the moment, so I'll put some of this into experiential words. When I left Westonbirt, it was in 1991, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. But in order to walk that path, I was going to have to break everything that I had been told since I was a child. Not just coming to Westonbirt, but since I was a child. And that was not easy, because all the you should do this, you must do this, it's better for you to do that, had sunk very heavily into me. And I was heavily conditioned to walk a certain path, to achieve a certain success, and to become a certain level of society, to have a certain standard of living. And you know what happened to me? When I was 18 and I left Westonbirt, I saw my entire life flash in front of me, like vroom. And I knew that that was not the path that I wanted to walk, and that was not the road that I wanted to live. I knew that that was not my life. While I was still at Westonbirt, I had already discovered what I wanted to do. It was very simple. Very, very simple. So simple that it was almost unattainable, unreachable, and improbable for somebody like myself coming out of a school like Westonbirt. Just to put things in perspective. I had a place at Cambridge University to study classics, Latin and Greek, as you know, Latin, Greek, and classical civilization. So there was a lot of pressure on me, the Cambridge girl, the this, the that, and all the rest of it. And the most marvellous miracle happened to me that has ever happened in my life, perhaps. I dropped a grade in my Latin A-level. And Cambridge told me, we will still accept you, but you will have to redo your Latin A-level and you can apply again next year. Which gave me time to think. It gave me time to stop. It gave me time to look at the entire situation and go, what am I really doing here? What am I getting myself into? I mean, Cambridge. Wow. Who would defy Cambridge? This was not easy. This was seriously not easy. But without telling my parents, or my family, or my teachers, or anybody, I wrote a letter to Cambridge University and said, I am not coming. You may ask, why? You're crazy. Anybody who gets into Cambridge would just grab it with a knife and fork and eat it up. Well, I saw my life flash out in front of me. 3 years at Cambridge studying Latin and Greek and classical civilization. Come out of Cambridge, go to law school for 2 years, however long it takes to become a lawyer. Get a job in the City of London, starting on about, well, in those days, 50 grand a year. Then, well, by the time I'm 35, I may break, I may get married, I may have a couple of children, break for 4 or 5 years, not even that, go straight, put the baby in a what you call creche thing, and go back to work and continue my career until I'm, what, 60? And then retire, and then, well, of course I'd have a house in the country, and I'd have a house in the city, and it all sounded really quite boring to me when I looked at it. I thought, God, no, this is not the path that I really want to walk. This is the path I should be walking. This is the path that my school has pushed me onto. This is the path that my parents have pushed me onto. But this is not the path that I want with my heart to walk. Oh boy, all that conditioning was this battle going on in my mind between you should, and you could, and you could. Anyway, in the end I wrote the letter. I packed a little rucksack with just a few items that I needed. I bought a bus ticket from London Victoria to Calais. And I thought, from that moment on, I will not even look left or right. I will just go with the wind, where the wind blows me, and I will travel this world until I find it. Find what? I didn't know. Everybody asked me, what are you doing? Where are you going? Why are you going? I said, I don't know, I just must. I know I must. Well, what money have you got? Well, I had £250 saved up in my bank account from birthdays and Christmas. I said, I've got £250. That won't get you very far, not even in 1991, that wouldn't get you very far. I said, I can work. Do what? I don't know, babysitting, waitressing, anything. It's all Europe now, we can work anywhere in Europe. So anyway, I did it. And the journey took me to many, many countries, to many, many places, to many, many people, through many, many experiences, and to today, where I now live up at 2,000 meters above sea level in the middle of the Himalayas, which is quite an interesting interlude on my journey. So what I'm trying to say is that my path is not the same as any one of your paths, and I'm not encouraging any of you to do what I did. That would be foolish and stupid, because each one of you has a God-given gift and a talent to explore, to find, and to aspire to, and to become. There is no reason for you to do what you should do because you're pressurized into it. But it is your duty to find what you love and what you have talent for, and to expose that talent and to live that talent. If you ask me, well, what's your talent? I'm not going to say it's writing, or it's filmmaking, or it's photography, or it's all the kinds of work that I do today. I would say that my talent is traveling, is integrated travel, is going around the world and absorbing the environment and places and people that I am exposed to. That is what I love doing, and that is what I do. And I will continue traveling until the day I die. That is for sure, because it is my learning experience. This is how I am becoming self-fulfilled. This is how I am exposing my understanding of who I am and why I'm here, and my purpose of having a human life. I mean, we have a precious human life, all of us. This is not to throw around and to mess with. I don't want to be gory, but I found a certain little pattern after I left school, and that by the age of 25, somebody, one girl in each class had already passed away. But death is a reality in our lives, and you know, you don't know how long you have on this planet, but you do know one thing, and that is that you have, especially you guys who have this amazing opportunity and foundation, you have more than the 99-point-something% of people on this planet, 7 billion of us, the chance and the opportunity to use your life fruitfully and to do what you want. Not what you should, not become the famous or the rich or the, but to be who you are, because each one of you has a talent. I don't know what each one of your talents, only you know what your talent is. But to find that, you have to reach deep inside yourself and say, I want to become an artist. Oh, but I won't make money becoming an artist, or I won't. But that's not the approach. That's just not the approach. If you want to do something, you can create that dream and you can become it. Because that is how life works. Life is like a dream. What you want, you will get. Also, what you don't want, you will get. Because if you go out with the wrong attitude and the wrong end in sight, like I want to make money, for example, then you may be fraught with all sorts of obstacles on the way that may cause you a lot of suffering. I want happiness, for example. That may not be the right path or right end in sight, because to get that happiness you may have to go through a lot of suffering. But to say, I know what I enjoy, and I am going to flourish with that. That is the only sure road that you can follow and attain the result. And it doesn't happen like that overnight. It does not happen. It is a step by step by step by step process. And most of us do not have the patience to walk that step by step by step process and to keep on going. We take the easier way out, and the easier way out often leads us onto a path of suffering, rather than continuing to try and reach what we really feel that we can become. I don't know if any of you have yet figured what you want. Has any one of you got an idea what you want to do with your life? Can anybody put up their hand immediately and say, I know what I want to do? I'm asking you. Anybody? My daughter.
Astronomer.
You want to become an astronomer. So, let's take my daughter, Alexi, in question. She's 15 years old. She knows she wants to become an astronomer. Well, that makes life easy for her because she knows she has to study maths and physics and further maths, and that she has to go on a certain path. And she has to follow probably her studies to a PhD level, because otherwise she won't be able to attain that goal. I want to become a traveller, so I don't need to go to university even. The whole world is out there. I can travel as much as I want without a degree. But her path requires her to have PhDs. Anybody else? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but is there anything that, I mean, it may be a secret in your heart which is burning and you don't really want to tell anybody yet because it's embarrassing, but anybody who feels confident enough, is there anything that you feel that you'd really like to do that is not yet coming to the surface? I know it's hard even choosing A-levels, isn't it? Yeah.
I want to do medicine. There we go.
Wow, so you're going to be in school till you're 26, 28. Wow. But anyway, you know the road you have to walk to do that. So, have you got a university in mind?
Yeah, or anywhere that I feel.
Well, where is good for medicine? London?
Or Cardiff.
Cardiff, yeah. Yeah? Great. So you know where you have to apply and you know what you're applying for. Because when you want to fire an arrow, I mean, and you want to hit a goal that's over there, or shall I put it into terms of lacrosse, Miss Gray? When you want to shoot the ball into the goal, it's no point in aiming over there when the goal is over there. And if you know where the goal is, then it's much easier to shoot that ball into the goal, or to aim it correctly. If you're not sure, then you may look this way, you may look this way, you may look this way, and you may look this way. And then looking on all those directions is also confusing. So when you've got a clear path, it's very easy to walk that path. So you're lucky. You already have a path to walk on. This is a good start. Anybody else? Come on, something really like out of the ordinary. Who wants to do something different? Yes.
I want to be a zoologist. I don't know how
Wow.
it is.
Great. Because well, in my eyes, and also being a doctor or a zoologist opens you to every country of this world. There are zoos everywhere, there are hospitals everywhere. And now I would say that's interesting because I always think about travel, so I would say, oh, you can go anywhere in the world and be a zoologist. Yeah, that's great. Any particular type of zoology?
Conservation.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Great. Anybody else?
I want to go and help people in the third world.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to help
That's a
Africa
big one.
and help them.
Wow, that's a big one. I mean, I've been living in India and Nepal for the last 11 years, so that is a huge. Any particular idea of what?
No, I just I think maybe later I might set up like a charity or something
Mm-hmm.
and just, I don't know, give some back or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I think also what you're facing at this time is a feeling of a little bit of lacking in confidence, which is normal at your age because you're about to come out into the big world, so to speak, and a feeling that you may not be able to succeed at what you want to do or succeed in the world in general. And I think this is where many people fall down at a certain point, is that they just don't believe that they can succeed in what they want to do. But giving your footing from where you're coming from, you are already standing with a much better chance than the majority of other people. I didn't realise this when I was at Westonbirt. I didn't know what a sort of an elite group that I was coming from. So your chances of achieving what you want to achieve are very, very much higher than that other 99-point-something% that are out there struggling even to get an education to class 5, to put it into perspective. I know it sounds like I use the same old story, you don't know how lucky you are and blah, 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 but it really is that case, it really is that case. So I'm not coming at it from that angle, I'm telling you that that should give you in itself the confidence to be able to go and do what you want to do because you're already starting there rather than there. So your springboard is here, whereas other springboard is here. They have to walk many, many further steps before they reach even where you are now. You are starting from there. So if you think, oh, it's so difficult to achieve what I want to do, or it's so difficult to do, or whatever, there's so much competition out there, and there are so many other people, and da-da-da-da-da, just know where you're coming from. Just know that you are already quite high up where you want to go. So putting lack of self-confidence aside, that's one of the major pitfalls when you leave school, is going out into the big world and thinking, oh, there are so many people here, how am I going to be able to compete or gain what I want to do as a result of there being so many people. And the other thing, of course, is doubting your own abilities to really become what you want to become.